Hey guys, Manny Lindenfeld here, and I'm excited to bring you Deformer, the ultimate live show bending and twisting tool. I've designed Deformer to make the bending of strong metal objects super easy and for the use in live show performances. Deformer hides in plain sight. There is nothing to conceal, add, ditch or switch, so you can focus 100% of your attention on presentation. Bend spoons, forks, keys and even nails into impossible shapes, bends you cannot achieve by hand. With nothing to prepare and no reset, Deformer is always ready for you and you can use it anywhere, impromptu, close-up and on stage. With Deformer, you can easily bend a perfectly straight neck twist in a borrowed sine spoon, or bend multiple spirals into a single spoon. And even better, bend a spiral twist into the tine of a borrowed sine fork. You can also bend the tines to an impossible 90-degree angle, upwards, downwards or sideways, or bend the very end of the handle of both a spoon and a fork. Bend one or two tines simultaneously, or use Deformer to easily break a tine in half after you gave that fork out for inspection. Additionally, you can bend, twist and break borrowed keys, bend strong steel nails to an impossible 20 to 120 degree angle.
Welcome, I'm Manny Lindenfeld. Thank you for choosing Deformer. I came up with the idea for Deformer a few years ago when I was trying to find a solution for twisting the neck in a spoon in a live show situation. I had three goals in mind. It had to be easy, fast, and completely undetectable. A gimmick that is easy to carry around, ready for when you need it, and most importantly, hides in plain sight. So I won't have to add, get rid of, or switch anything. It was my friend, mentalist Ran Biserman, who pointed me to the right direction. And after many trials and variations, I finally had a gimmick at hand that not only fulfilled all my goals, but also enabled me to do so much more with the gimmick than just twisting the neck in a spoon. Throughout this video tutorial, I will teach you how to twist the neck in a spoon, bend tines of forks to impossible shapes, bend nails, and bend, twist, and even break borrowed keys. Inside the package, you will find one regular Sharpie and one Sharpie cap made out of metal. Now, the metal Sharpie cap is the Deformer gimmick. Now, the first thing that you want to do before you start using the Deformer gimmick is uncap the Sharpie and cap it with the metal cap. Now, you want to push the Sharpie all the way into the cap so it's shut completely and doesn't fall off. Now, the Sharpie cap, the metal one, is designed to keep the Sharpie wet for a long time so it keeps writing and doesn't dry out.
The gimmick hides in plain sight and looks completely innocent. When you want to give out the marker to a spectator for signing something, for example, always uncap it like this with your left hand and give only the marker to the spectator and never give out the cap itself, because it is a little heavy and if they hold it, they might know something fishy is going on. So always give out this marker only. Now, when you take it back, you always place it back this way. You want to push it all the way inside the cap so it keeps writing for a long time and it won't get dry. And when you want to get rid of it, all you have to do is basically take the Sharpie and put it in your pocket, and you got rid of the gimmick and it's always ready for you for the next time you want to use it.
Before I teach you how to do the neck twist with the Deformer gimmick, you first have to know how to choose the right spoon for it. So usually the cheaper the spoon, the easier it is to make a neck twist in. But sometimes when you borrow a spoon and you're not sure if you can actually bend it, take the spoon with both hands while you speak and just bend it a little bit with your hands. Now, if you can bend it, you probably will be able to do a neck twist in that spoon as well. Now, sometimes when you pick a spoon up that is much harder and it's almost impossible to bend, avoid those type of spoons because you probably won't be able to do a neck twist in those types of spoons. I suggest that you start practicing the neck twist with a teaspoon because it is a smaller spoon and can be easier handled than a larger spoon. Now, I personally like to use a larger spoon because it is twice as large and makes a much nicer and bigger display, but the effect is the same with a large spoon and a teaspoon.
Now I'm going to show you how to make the actual twist in the neck of the spoon. Now, the way to do this is like this. You take a spoon, you ask a spectator to sign the spoon. The spoon can be a borrowed spoon from the spectator. And then you are going to hand him the marker and he is going to sign the ball of the spoon right there. Now, when you take the marker back, make sure you cap it all the way shut so it's locked in place. And then shift the gimmick to the right hand and hold it with the cap facing downwards and inside your palm while the marker itself is protruding from the outer side, like pointing outwards. Now you want to make sure that the clip itself is against the fingers, okay, this way, and you're going to hold the marker in a very casual way. You don't make a big deal about it. After the spectator has signed the spoon, take the spoon from him and hold it at the bowl of the spoon with your left hand. Now you want to shift the spoon to the right hand and enter the tip of the handle inside the clip of the gimmick right there. So it goes in like so, okay? Now you're going to do this while it's concealed in your hand. You just place it in there and I'm going to just hold both the spoon and the marker this way. Now if I'm going to show you the other side, this is how it looks like. The handle is inside the clip and you are going to hold everything like this while you speak. Now when you are ready to make the twist in the spoon, you want to grab the bowl of the spoon with your left hand and you want to come from the outer side and then your fingers go in the inner side behind the bowl and you're going to grab it from this way. So when you're actually going to do this, you're going to do this parallel to the floor from this position actually, and then it's very easy to grab. So whenever you're ready to make the twist, you simply turn both hands in opposite directions. And now, as you can see, the spoon has a full twist in there, but the spoon is a little bit bent as well, because not every time that you do the neck twist is going to be perfectly aligned. So what I'm doing before I actually expose the spoon, so I'm doing the twist and then immediately fix it a little bit. So now I can hold it. Now, usually what I'm doing, I'm holding the spoon and I have to cover the twist right there. Nobody can see the twist from the other side, of course. And then I can also see if the spoon is straight or not. So while I'm speaking, I can actually straighten it a little bit like so. Now the twist can be also very easily done with a large spoon as well. The technique is the same. You hold the cap with a clip facing your fingers and facing downwards. You're going to take the spoon that the spectator has signed and you are going to shift it to the right hand while the handle goes inside the clip like there. And then grab the bowl of the spoon. And then whenever you're ready to do the twist, while you're speaking, you're going to do the twist this way. And then you can fix a little bit to make sure it's completely nicely aligned. If you want to do a spiral into a spoon using just a cap is possible. And I'm going to show it to you right now, but it is much harder to do this with just a cap. So I suggest that when you do want to create a spiral into a spoon, that you actually use the entire Sharpie, because this will give you a better grip and you will have better leverage when you use the entire Sharpie. Now I'm going to show you how to create the neck twist in a spoon during a live show performance under the noses of the spectators, and you will do this so that the spectators will not notice what you are doing. They will not catch you in action while you create that neck twist. For this, you will need the gimmick with the cap facing down inside your hand like this. You will have the spoon that you gave out to the spectator. The spectator has signed that spoon and gave that spoon back to you. When you take the spoon from the spectator, you will enter the tip of the handle inside the clip right there, and you will hold it like this, just like I've taught you before, and you are now ready for creating that neck twist in the spoon. For this, you will need a second cutlery piece. It could be another spoon or a fork. And the reason you need this is so that you can give something else out for inspection to the spectator, so that he's busy now examining another piece of cutlery, so that you can create that neck twist inside your spoon as you talk to the spectator. So the spectator has this spoon. He's examining that spoon, and what you tell the spectator is, I want you to make sure that the spoon is strong. I want you to examine the spoon. And as you go down with your hand like this, you just created a neck twist inside that spoon. And the move is from eye level, from here down to your waist. You move your hand from your eye level to your waist as you do the opposite twists with your hands, as I've taught you before. And the large movement is actually covering that twist move that you do along the way when you move your hand from top down. And again, you want to speak to the spectator. You want to make sure that the spectator is busy, and you do a lot of movements. And you will do this at eye level. So you will tell the spectator again, I want you to examine the spoon, make sure that the spoon is really straight. And as you go down with your hands, you have just created that neck twist right there. So it's from here down to here. And you will do this by grabbing the spoon from over and around like this. So it's from here and with your fingers at the other side right there. And you will go down as you do the opposite twist with your hands. And this will create that beautiful neck twist inside the spoon right in front of your spectators. They will not notice anything while you do this. And this is a great way to create a neck twist in a spoon during a live show performance in front of your spectators. And you will do this without getting caught. Now, after you have executed the twist in the spoon, you want to make sure that you always cover the twist itself so it's not visible. So you can hold it with your thumb and rest of the fingers covering the twist. Now, like this, the spoon looks like a straight spoon and everything looks normal. Now, you want to shift the spoon to the right hand now and holding it the same way. Now, you want to hold it with the signature
facing the spectator. And the twist is covered with your thumb and index fingers. Now the end part of the handle right there, you want to either make contact with the end joint of the pinky or the middle crease of your palm or further inside your palm right there. So it all depends on how large the handle is and how big your palm is. So basically, if you are using a teaspoon, I would probably push the end of the handle at the pinky right there. And now because I'm using a larger spoon, I'm going to place it right there. So now you're holding it this way with your index finger and thumb covering the twist and end of the handle touching that crease at the end of my palm like this. Now the rest of the fingers, it's very important that you always keep them tight together. If they are a little loose, they might see the handle of the spoon through your fingers, and while you make the twist, they are going to see the handle twist as well, and it's going to decrease the power of this effect. Now to animate, all you have to do now is push the end bone of your palm against the tip of the spoon this way. Okay, so now what you're actually doing is pushing the spoon out like so, okay? But you want to hold the index finger and thumb tight at the twist part. So when you push, what's actually happening, as you can see, it's actually making the spoon twist while it goes out of the fingers. Now, you want to do this very slowly and dramatically while you pretend to channel energy with your other hand and make some movements to make it look better, so they can see the twist happening right in front of their eyes. Let's do this one more time. Okay, so you want to push upwards with this part. So it doesn't matter if it's against your pinky, the end of the palm, or the middle of the palm, you want to push upwards. So the twist is slowly revealed from between the index finger and thumb. Now, you're going to do this like so. And when you reach halfway, so the spoon is now halfway twisted, you won't have to push anymore. You can simply now slide the thumb backwards like so. So this will complete the twist all the way. If you do this in one motion, you'll start by pushing the bone and palm upwards. Halfway through, you're going to continue simply by sliding your right thumb downwards to complete the twist. Now you're going to do this while you hold the spoon parallel to yourself and the signature towards the spectator. So you're going to do this like this. So when the signature is facing upwards, you can continue with the thumb to continue the twist all the way through. And then you can show the spoon to the spectator and give this out as a souvenir to him. You want to hold the spoon with your right index finger and thumb covering the twisted part of the spoon, and you want to hold it very tight. Now you're going to come with your left hand and grab the middle part of the handle with your left fingers, and then you want to push both palms together this way so the outer side of the spoon is not exposed to the spectator. So you're going to come this way, and then you're going to secretly bring the tip of the thumb and hold it against the tip of the handle right there. Now, to animate, all you have to do is basically push the thumb upwards, and as you can see, the spoon is now twisting this way. Now, when it's reaching halfway, continue by simply sliding the right thumb downwards to continue and complete the twist. So let's do this again. You are going to hold the twisted part of the spoon with your right index finger and thumb, so you conceal it, and you want to hold it very tight. The rest of the fingers are tied together
so there are no gaps between them. You're going to come now with your left hand and grab the middle part of the handle like this, then push both palms together. Then slowly and secretly slide the left thumb all the way down to the tip of the handle. And whenever you're ready to animate the spoon, all you have to do is basically push the left thumb upwards while these fingers are completely tight, because this is going to cause the spoon to twist. So you're going to push upwards with your left thumb. The spoon is going to start to animate. When it reaches halfway, you stop with your left thumb and you continue with your right thumb by simply sliding this downwards very slowly. Now you want to do this very slowly and dramatically, so the spoon actually looks like it's actually bending and twisting in front of him. Okay, so now when you're going to perform this, you're going to perform this with the spoon and the signature facing the spectator, and the spoon and the back side of the spoon parallel to yourself, and you want to hold it at eye level. Now, after you have completed the twist, simply remove the right hand to expose the entire spoon, and this way you're going to hold the spoon at the tip, at the end right there, with your left fingers, and you're going to display the entire spoon to the spectator. And if you want, you can give this out to the spectator as a souvenir. One of the things that you can do with the deformer gimmick is to create multiple spirals into a single spoon. Now here you can see a spoon that has 2 spirals. This one has 3 spirals, and this one has 4 spirals into the spoon. To create multiple spirals into a single spoon, you want to hold the Sharpie upside down with the cap facing yourself and the clip of the cap touching your fingers, just like you have done before. And when you are ready to create the multiple spirals, you will enter with the handle of the spoon inside the clip right there. And you want to hold it like this with the spoon already prepared inside the clip. And now you are ready to create multiple spirals. And just like you have done before, you will come with the other hand around like this. So you're basically coming from the outer side of the spoon, and you want to have the fingers touching the inner side of the bowl of the spoon like this. You want to hold the spoon with the outer side of the bowl facing the spectators and the inner curved side of the spoon facing yourself. So you are going to come with your other hand like this, and whenever you're ready to bend the spoon, all you have to do is twist both hands in opposite directions, just like you have done with the first spiral that I've taught you earlier. So you're going to do this, and now you have the first spiral into the spoon. To create a second spiral, all you have to do is do the same move again and again. Now, as you can see, I can bend the spoon with multiple spirals into the spoon like this. Now, I suggest that you create multiple spirals into one single spoon pre-show with the deformer gimmick. It is very easy to do. The number of spirals that you can create into a single spoon really depends on how strong your hands are. And it is something that I suggest that you prepare pre-show, because this way you don't need to misdirect the spectators. If you want to create lots of spirals, like 3 or even 4 spirals into a single spoon, it's going to be much harder to do, especially that every single spiral that you add to the spoon is going to be harder to accomplish because it requires more strength from your side, from your hands. So you need bigger misdirection, and it is harder to do. So I suggest that if you do decide to make so many spirals into one single spoon, that you actually do this pre-show and not during a live show. If you decide to create multiple spirals into a single spoon during a live show performance, I suggest that you create 2 spirals instead of 3 or 4, just because you need to misdirect the spectator much less when you just create 2 spirals. Because the more spirals you want to create into a single spoon, the more you need to misdirect the spectators. What you want to do is let the spectator sign that spoon. You take the spoon back, you show the signature, you will place the
handle of the spoon inside the clip right there. And then whenever you're ready, you will come from the back like this, like I've taught you just before. You will twist the hands in opposite directions, and then you have the first spiral into the spoon right there. You will then take that spoon and you will use one of the techniques that I've taught you to animate the spoon and create the first spiral into the spoon, and you will let the spectator examine that spoon. And because the spectator now assumes that this effect is now over, you can now take that spoon back and go back to your place the spoon on the table. You will place the handle in the spoon one more time, and then while you talk and misdirect the spectator, you can do a second spiral like this, and then you can place this spoon onto the table, and later on when you come back to that, you expose that the spoon has now bent even more than the first time. Or if you want to do some kind of animation to the spoon to create a second spiral, you also can do this. If you want, you can also do something else, and that is create the actual spirals in front of the spectators. And what you would do is, after you let the spectator sign the spoon, you would then hold the spoon, and then while you talk and say that you are going to channel energy into the spoon, you explain that you are actually making that spoon softer and softer while you're channeling energy into it, and nothing really happens. And then to prove how soft that spoon is, you can now do this in front of the spectator. You say, look how I can bend this spoon right in front of you, and you can actually give that spoon to the spectator as a souvenir, and you can tell the spectator, try to unbend its spoon. It's not going to happen because it is almost impossible to do. In fact, you can give the spectator a second straight spoon and let them try to twist that spoon. They will never be able to do this with their hands. So this is another performance idea that you can do, where you are channeling energy into the spoon to make the spoon softer, to make the metal of the spoon softer. And then you just, in front of the spectator, do that twist, and then you just give that spoon out as a souvenir to them.
You can also use the gimmick to bend nails using the tip right there. And what you need is basically a nail that can easily fit inside the hole right there. Okay. And the larger the nail, the better and more easier it is to bend. So the way to bend it is exactly like before. You're holding it with the Sharpie facing upwards. Now you're going to rest the end of the nail at the middle joint of the finger right there. And then to make the bend, press the thumb downwards. You can see now you have a bent nail.
You can also use just the cap for bending nails. So you can hide this in your hand like this, or when you give the spectator that Sharpie to sign another metal object, such as a spoon or something else, you will have the cap in your hands, and you can now use this misdirection for bending a nail. Now here I have a very large nail. The nail is actually bigger than the cap itself, but what it's important is that this nail can easily fit inside the hole at the gimmick right there. And whenever you want to bend that nail, you will hold it with these two fingers like this. You want to hold it tight in place so that the nail does not fall out of the gimmick, and then simply use this part of your other palm to press down in a quick motion. And as you can see right here, I created a bend into a very strong nail that cannot be possibly bent by hand. So this is another way to bend the nail with just the cap. So you can either do this with the cap on the Sharpie, or you can use just the cap for bending a nail.
Whenever you're ready to perform the effect with the nail, what you want to do is give those nails out for inspection to the spectator. Ask him to choose one, then hand him the marker to mark the chosen nail at the top, right there. And then while you misdirect the spectator, place this nail into the hole at the tip of the marker right there. Okay. And then what you want to do is make a very large bend, like so, almost 90 degrees. And then put the marker in your pocket.
To animate the nail, to make it look like it's bending in front of the spectator, hold both nails parallel to the floor with the bent nail on top of the straight nail and the bent part of the nail pointing upwards.
So you're going to hold nails with the right index finger and thumb coming from above the nail. So the bent part is facing upwards against the joint, the end joint of the right index finger, like so. Okay, and the thumb is covering the bent part. Now, whenever you're ready to perform, what you want to do is basically use the thumb to twist the nail this way, from here to there. And you're going to do this very, very slowly while you channel energy to the nail, like so. You're pretending like it's bending, and after the nail reached the angle of the bend, what you want to do is take that nail, show the bend right there, and then you can take the other nail and put them next to each other like so to show that one nail is now bent, and you can give that nail out to the spectator as a souvenir. You can also use the deformer to bend keys, and you can do this in 3 different ways. You can either bend the key, twist the key, or break a key, and I'm going to show you how to do this. Now, the type of keys that you want to use are the cheap ones. So borrow a key from a spectator, or if you want, you can hand him one of your own keys and ask him to sign the key. Then take the marker back and hold it in your left hand. So the clip is now facing upwards and the cap facing outwards. Okay, you're going to hold this in your hand like this. Okay, a little bit concealed like this. Take the key back from the spectator. Blow on the signature to make sure it's dry. Now to bend the key, all you have to do is now place the key inside the clip. Now you want to place the key at the top part of the clip where it's connected to the cap. So you're going to enter it right there and then going to hold it in place with your left thumb. When you're ready to bend it, you are going to grab the round part of the key with your forefinger and right thumb, like so, and then you're going to twist both hands in opposite directions like this. Okay, so you're going to grab it and then simply do this move. And as you can see, you have a half of a twist in the key there. And this is how you twist the key with the gimmick. Now, if you want to break a key in half, all you have to do is do the same thing. Place it in there, inside the clip, close to the connection point, and then simply twist. But this time you are going to twist a much larger twist. So you're going to do like this. And as you can see now, you have 2 parts that are broken now. And this is how you break a key. Now, if you want to bend the key in a regular way, in a straight way, all you have to do is the same. Just ask a spectator to sign the key. But this time, do not take the marker from him. Only take the key. Blow on the signature to make sure it's completely dry. And what you want to do is hold the cap in your left hand so the large hole is facing outwards and it is concealed in your left hand like this. Okay, so you're going to take the key and place the top of the key inside the large hole of the cap right there, like so. And you're going to place your right thumb over the round part of the key and the left thumb over the other thumb. Now, the left index finger is touching the connecting point where the key and the cap meet. So, like so, okay? Now, you're going to place thumb over thumb like so, and whenever you're ready, you're just going to push down. And now, as you can see, that the key is now bent in a straight way. Okay, you want to give the spectator the key and the marker and ask him to sign the key. Do not take the marker back from the spectator just yet. Just take the key from him and place the narrow part of the key inside the large hole of the cap right there. Okay? Like so. Now, you're going to hold the key like this. It looks like you're just casually holding the key and it won't look suspicious to the spectator. And whenever you're ready to bend it, simply place the left thumb over the large round part of the key and then place the other thumb on top of it. And whenever you're ready to bend the key, simply press on it and it's going to bend this way. Okay? Now, after you have bent the key, take the key and shift it to the right hand. Take the marker from the spectator, close the marker and put the marker away. Now you are left with a bent key in your hand. So now you have a few ways you can bend the key. You can either simply place it in your hand and pretend like you're concentrating and after a few moments open and show that the key has bent. You can also place the key in a spectator's hands and do the same. Or if you want, you can strike the key with your fingers to make the key bend in a more visual way. So what you want to do is like this. You hold the key like so, and you just start rubbing it like so. Okay, start rubbing the key very slowly. And then slowly show that the key is now bent. Or if you want, you can have a spectator hold the tip of the key like this, and then simply place your index finger on top of it like so. So it's covering the narrow part and the bent part of the key. So they are holding the key and simply rub the key for a few moments and then slowly reveal the bent part of the key. And because the key is now in their own hand, because they are holding the key, they are left with a bent key and immediately can check that the key is now bent. And it looks very magical and very visual that the key is now bent in their own hands. Now, if you want to do it in a more visual way, you can hold the key with your left hand like so, and then adjust it like so by taking the right hand and simply taking some of the bent part out of the cover of the left fingers like so. But when you do this, you want to cover with your right thumb so they don't see the bent part, and you can just simply rub it, or you can do this with your index finger if you want to, and then slowly strike the key while you are moving the left thumb a little backwards to make the key rise upwards like so. So while you are striking, you are making the key rise a little bit, and then you can give that bent key to the spectator as a souvenir. You want to hold the twisted key at the too long side of the narrow part of the key like this, but don't hold it all the way in. Hold it as far as possible out where the bent part is, like this. So this way it looks like it's a straight key, as long as you don't show that twisted part. So you hold it from the two narrow sides like there, and then slowly make the key turn this way by simply squeezing these two fingers like this. Okay, but you're going to do this very slowly as you pretend like you're channeling energy, and it looks like the key is twisting like this, and then you can show that the key is now twisted halfway, and you can give this out for examination. Now, if you want, you can even do this after you have turned the key and made it twist a little bit. You can reposition by taking the key out a little bit so they can now see the twist, and then continue the twist by simply turning the key a little more by sliding the left index finger this way. So like this, reposition, and then you can show the key twisting a little more, and then you give this key out to the spectator as a souvenir. Now, with some keys, depending on the type of the key and how strong the material of the key is, sometimes when you're going to try to over twist the key, it's actually going to break in half, which is a great thing. So you have placed the key in the clip right there, and then simply turn the key to make a twist. Now, if you want to break the key, you simply turn more than usually. And as you can see now, the key is now broken in half. Now that broken part is going to still stay in that left hand while the other part of the key is actually held in your right hand. So what happens at that point, after you have broken the key, you want to take that part of the key and turn it this way. Okay, so from here, this way. But you're going to do this while you are actually letting go of the other parts in your left hand as well. So you're going to do this at the same time. So after you have broken the key like this, you're going to turn and let go of the other part in your right hand. It looks like you're just dropping the key in there, and then move the key, the broken part of the key, the large part, from this point up to there. So now you have one part of the key in a finger palm position and the other part of the key at the fingertips. So the spectator don't know that you have actually broken the key in half, and it looks like you're just holding a regular key. Now, if you want, now you can ask the spectator to hold that part of the key. And what you're going to do is pretend like you're rubbing the key very slowly. You rub the key, rub the key, rub the key, and then you can move it up and down. So it looks like the key is becoming softer and softer. And then simply ask him to put his other palm underneath, and then he's holding this part and his other palm is underneath. And after you have stroking the key, you just let go of that broken part so it falls in their own hands. So they are left basically with the two parts of the broken key, and you can give this to the spectator as a souvenir. Now, the gimmick is also designed to bend the tines of forks, and you are going to use the little hole at the tip right there. And the way to do this is you hold the Sharpie in your right hand. You can also do this with your left hand if you are a lefty, but it's better to do this with your stronger hand. And you're going to hold it this time so the cap is facing outwards and not inwards into your palm like you did with the clip before. So the way to do this, you take a fork and you simply enter the gimmick inside one of the tines. Now, usually it's easier to do this with the outer tines rather than the inner ones, because the inner ones, sometimes the gimmick won't fit all the way in. So as you can see, it doesn't fit much in there. So it's better to use the outer tines. I'm going to go through all the different bends that you can do with a fork. So the first bend that you are going to do is a large arc bend into the prong of the fork. And you can do this either with the prongs pointing up like this, or with the fork upside down with the prongs facing down. I think it is easier to do this with the prongs facing down. And what you are going to do is enter with the fork into the hole right there at the Sharpie, and you want to place your thumb right there at the end of the prong right here, and you are going to press the thumb downwards, and at the same time you are going to move the left hand upwards. So you have the fork right in there, and you are going to move the entire Sharpie. And as you can see now that I have a little bend right there at the prong, and it's a large bend where the bend is right there at the end. So what I've done, I have pushed the entire Sharpie against my right thumb. What's also great about this is that you can also use it very easily with much heavier and more expensive forks. Unlike the twist here, you don't have to make the force into very thick metal. So even though it is a very thick fork, an expensive fork, the tines are thinner and usually very hard to bend by hand. But if you have a gimmick, you can also use it to make a nice large bend into a very nice expensive fork.
Now, the second type of bend that you can do is a 90-degree bend, or even more than a 90-degree bend. And what you do, you will enter with the prong right there into the Sharpie, and then simply do this move. So basically what you are doing, you're not moving the Sharpie as much. You are basically pushing down on the handle of the fork. And this is an impossible bend that you can create. It's a 90-degree bend into the fork right here. So as you can see now that we made two types of bends. One of them is a 90-degree bend, a very sharp bend, and one of them is an arc bend. Now you can do both bends, by the way, to the opposite direction. So if you are holding the fork the other way, you can see now we made two sharp bends to two opposite directions. And this is an impossible bend that you can never achieve by hand. And what's really cool about this is actually super easy to do with the Deformer gimmick, because you have a large leverage by pulling the handle of the fork down and not so much the Sharpie. So let me do this one more time. You are going to place this into the Sharpie like this, and then simply bend the fork downwards this way. And it's super easy to do this. Next bend that I'm going to show you is how to do a sharp bend, just like this one. But instead of bending upwards or downwards, you can do the same thing by simply pressing to the sides. So as you can see that this prong right there is bent sideways, while this prong is bent upwards, and this one right there is actually bent downwards. So this is the three sharp bends that you can do with the prongs. What you want to do is bend one of the inner prongs of the fork. So while you misdirect the spectator, place the tine of the fork inside the hole right there. Okay, and then while you misdirect the spectator, you can make a bend on one of the inner prongs, like so. Okay, so you make a bend at one of the tines in the fork, like so, and then immediately cover the bent part with your thumb so the spectator cannot see it, and put the mark away. Now turn the fork around like this, so the prongs are facing downwards and towards yourself. Let the spectator hold the other side of the fork at the handle right there. And whenever you're ready to start making the bend in the fork, shift the left index finger over the prong and let go of the thumb. So like this, keeping the bent tine completely covered and concealed all the time. Whenever you're ready to start making the bend itself, start rubbing the tine like so, and then slowly reveal the bend. And of course, when you do this, you do it very slowly and dramatically, and then slowly reveal it to show that the prong is now bent. Okay. Now the spectator is left with the fork in his own hands, and he can immediately check the fork and examine it as a regular fork. Now, if you want, you can do a 90-degree bend in a fork like this. And the handling of the fork with a 90-degree bend is basically the same. You let the spectator hold the other side of the fork, and then simply start rubbing the fork, and then slowly revealing that bent part. And now they can see that the fork tine is now bent in a 90-degree angle. And it is completely amazing because the spectator is going to try to unbend it. It's impossible to unbend this. Another method to make the prong of the fork look like it's bending in a very visual way is to hold the fork straight up like this with the tines of the fork facing upwards and the natural curve of the tines facing yourself. Hold the fork with your left hand covering the tines with your left fingers like this, okay? So you're gonna bring up the fork and then position the fork upright as you grab the handle of the fork with your right hand and immediately start shaking as you concentrate on the fork. Now shake front and back in a very fast motion and then gradually slow the motion so they slowly can see now that the tine of the fork is bending right in front of them, and then stop to show that the tine of the fork has bent.
Now I'm going to show you how to do a double bend into one tine, and you want to hold the fork with the teeth facing upwards. You will enter the Sharpie like this and then press down first to make this kind of bend, a sharp bend into the fork. And then immediately after you have done this, you will bring your thumb over like so and then press this way. So you are pushing upwards on the tine like this. Again, you are going to bend down first and then push with the Sharpie upwards. So let me show you to you one more time. What you want to do is enter into the prong like this. You will do a sharp bend first, followed by pressing the thumb over the fork like this and then pushing upwards this way with the Sharpie like so. And as you can see, I made a double bend into the fork, a sharp bend together with an arc bend.
Now I'm going to show you how to prepare the tine of the fork so that you can easily break it. Now you can do this either pre-show, or you can actually do this during a live show performance where you're creating that break in front of the spectators. And let me show you the technique first. So what you want to do, you want to place the tine into the tip of the gimmick, and you want to hold the fork with the natural curve facing upwards, but you can also do this facing down, but it is easier to do this with the fork facing upwards like this. And whenever you're ready, all you have to do is just simply bend the tine of the fork like this into a 90-degree or a little more than a 90-degree bend, just like I've showed you before. And then all you have to do now is bend it back. So you bend it and bend it back in one motion. Now, as you can see now, it has a little bend right there. And then this part right here is now weaker than it was before. Now you do this a second time and then go back. And then on the third time, you can actually feel it breaking. And as you can see now, it is broken. Now you don't want to actually break the prong with the gimmick like this. Now, if you look right there, you can see that there is a little piece of a tine of the fork in that hole stuck in there. And that happened because I placed the tine too deep into the gimmick, and I actually broke it with the gimmick like I've done just a moment before with this piece right there. So sometimes it actually might get caught. So you have to be careful when you do this. And the way to test this is before the show, you want to place that tine into the hole of the gimmick right there. And you want to make sure that when you put it in and out, that it slides in and out freely and it doesn't get stuck. Because with some forks, especially when you have a fork with a very wide tine, and when you stick it in there and you feel it's getting stuck in there and it's a little hard to remove, you should probably do this with the more inner tines, which are usually thinner than the outer tines. But with this fork right here, I don't have a problem because it actually
goes in and out freely and it doesn't get stuck when I do this. So that's why I was able to actually remove that piece. So let's do this one more time. So you have that tine right there. And what you do during the live show, you do this. And then on the third time, you're going to feel the break. And then just when you felt the break, you want to remove the gimmick. Now, as you can see right here on this prong right there, it is now broken, but not all the way. So what you do, you break the prong with the gimmick, but you don't break it all the way. You just want to make sure that it is still connected. And the way to do this is by simply bending down and up. On the third time, you will hear the break. And when you hear the break, you want to make sure that you don't bend the tine anymore, and you just remove the tine from the gimmick. And now you'll have the tine ready for a break. So basically all you really need to do is now do this, and it's broken right there. You just bend it up and down during a performance and it will slowly break like this. So let's do this one more time. You take the tine, you place it into the gimmick right there, and during a performance while you misdirect the spectator, all you really need to do is do this once and then twice and then a third time. And when you hear the break, then it's when the prong is ready for a break during a performance. Now, when you perform this, you want to let the spectator hold the other side of the handle right there, and you will cover the tine with the thumb and forefinger, and you just pretend to rub that tine to channel energy into that tine. And while you do, you just bend up and down a few times like this, and the spectator is holding this other side, and you just go like this up and down, and then slowly you will feel that it is actually breaking in your hand like this, and then show that you have just broken the tine of a fork with your fingers. Let me show it to you one more time. You just go up and down and then show that it is now broken. So this is the way to create a break into a fork. Now again, you can do this pre-show, and if you do this pre-show, it is easier for you. You don't have to misdirect the spectators during a performance. You will prepare that break before the show, and all you really have to do now is make sure that you cover that part, which is a very small part. And while you display the fork, you will show it this way while that prong is covered. Now I'm going to show you another technique how to break the tine of a fork. And in this technique, you will actually have to do half of the moves that you have done in the first technique. So if you remember, in the first technique, you had to come in with the gimmick into the tine like this, and then go down, up, down again, then up again, and then one more time down and up in order to prepare that tine for a break. And in some forks, you would actually have to do a fourth time down and up, which are between 6 to 8 moves. And these moves are repetitive moves that you would have to do in order to break the tine. And in this technique, you will actually use only 3 moves in order to break the tine. And I'm going to show you what to do. What you need to do is come in with the tine into the gimmick right there. And then like before, you would go down first, up again. And then instead of going down again, you would do a side bend. So from here to there. So as you can see, I have broken the tine in just 3 moves, but this tine right now is broken, but also firmly attached to the tine itself. So if I'm going to try to break this with my fingers, it's almost impossible to do. To make the piece actually looser, all you need to do is when you do the side bend is go a little further down this way. So instead of having it 90 degrees, you would have it a little more than 90 degrees. So now if you look right there, I can actually break this pretty easy. So the difference is that if you have it bent 90 degrees, it's going to be hard to break. And if you do it a little more than 90 degrees, it's going to be very easy to break. So let me do this one more time. You will do this on the side tines. You will go down, up, and then to the side, but you will go a little more than 90 degrees
like this. And now as you can see that this piece is broken right there. You can see it's broken, but it's also still connected. And what's great about this move is not only it took me only 3 quick moves to break the tine is also bent to the side, which can give you another phase for a routine where you first bend it and only then break it, which is a great thing. Another thing that I like to do once I come to this position where it's broken now, I like to put it back a little bit. So I'm not forcing it back. I just move it a little bit backwards. So this way, when you look right here, you can see it doesn't look like it's broken. It looks like it's firmly attached to that piece right there. And this is a great thing because now you can actually do another phase of the routine where the tine first bends to the side. You can actually bang it onto another cutlery piece or on the table, and the spectators can actually touch this piece right there. They will not know that this piece is now actually prepared for a break. So then when you take this back, you will continue rubbing this piece, and now you will simply break this piece apart. And this is a great technique, especially when you are trying to prepare the break during a live show, because now you have to do only 3 quick moves, and you have also a better chance that this piece is going to be actually broken. Let me show it to you one more time with another fork. What you do, you go down, up, and then to the side. And then if you want, you can push it just a little bit back right there. And as you can see, this piece right there is now bent to the side, but also prepared for a break. So this is how you do it. You go down, up, and to the side. So what you would do during a real performance, if you want to prepare a break in front of the spectators during a live show, what you would do, you will have 2 cutlery pieces, a fork and another piece. You would give out a fork first. You will ask a spectator to sign their name across the handle right there. You take that fork back and give them the spoon so that they can examine and sign that spoon. And while the spectator is busy signing the spoon, you will have the gimmick in your hand and you will come in with the fork into the gimmick like this. And while the spectator is busy checking the spoon, all you really need to do is quickly bend the tine 90 degrees down this way. And then if you want to straighten that piece up again, grab that handle and then just raise the handle upwards to straighten that piece. And then what you do, you simply move the fork from this position into this position. And what I've done, I've actually bent that piece to the side and also prepared that piece for a break. So now I'm going to take the marker back, place the marker inside the cap right there, and then place the marker inside my pocket. And while I'm doing this, I always cover with the thumb and forefinger so that the spectators cannot see that bend and break into the tine right there. And then I would place the fork inside my pocket or somewhere on the side, and I would start by bending the spoon first. I would do any regular bend that I want to. And then while they are amazed with the first phase of the routine where I bend that spoon, I will come out with my fork and I will cover this piece right there. And then I will let the spectator hold the other end. They will hold the other end. I'm going to start to rub that piece and then show that it is now bent to the side. And then if I want, I can go and do a little more bending like this and then slowly show them that this piece is now broken. Now let's try this with some other kinds of forks and see what we can do. So you have this fork right here. It's a little different, this one. And if I go in there, bend down, bend upwards, and then to the side, as you can see that this piece is also broken right there. Now, if I bend a little more than 90 degrees, I can actually easily break this piece. Let me try this now with a more expensive fork. So you would come in with the tine into the gimmick, bend down, bend upwards, and then sideways. Now, as you can see right here, we actually managed to break the tine even with a more expensive fork like this one. And as you can see that this piece can also be broken now. Let's try this one more time. So you have going down, up, and then to the side. And as you can see, now we can break this piece apart. As you can see, we managed to actually break the tine in both a cheap fork and a more expensive fork with this side break technique. Experiment with the forks that you want to use just to make sure how the metal reacts, how flexible the metal is, and how strong the metal is.
Now I'm going to show you how to bend a spiral into the prong of the fork right there. And you're going to do this in 3 motions that you will combine into one long motion. So the first thing that you want to do is come in with the prong into the tip of the Sharpie right there, and then do a regular bend this way. So now you have the 90-degree bend right there, but you want to make sure that you bend actually a little more than 90 degrees like this. So it's a little more. You want to hold the curved part of the fork with your index finger and thumb of the right hand like this. And then the second thing that you want to do is press this way. So you're going to twist the fork this way. So now what you have done is bend the 90-degree bend that you have done before, but you now twisted it halfway and it's now pointing to the left like this. And the third move that you want to do is simply straighten the prong like this. So as you can see, you have a twist in the prong right there, and it looks totally amazing because this is a bend that cannot be accomplished by hand, and it is something that the spectator is going to remember a long time. So let's do this one more time. The best way to hold the fork when you do the twist is to hold it like this with the pinky, ring finger, and middle finger at the handle, and then the forefinger at the bottom of the fork and the thumb at the top of the fork right there. This way you won't have to change the position of the fingers as you hold the fork, and you could do the entire twist in one continuous motion. If you do this in one continuous motion, it's going to be fast and easy to do. It should take about a second only. You can do the twist in any of the prongs, but I prefer to do this on the leftmost one because it is easier to do. So you will enter the tip of the Sharpie cap, bend downwards. Again, you want to make sure the bend is more than 90 degrees, just a little bit, and then immediately twist the fork or rotate the fork counterclockwise so that the prong is now half twisted to the left, and then immediately continue by straightening that prong. And now, as you can see, you have a twist right there at the prong. Now I'm going to demonstrate how to do the twisting of the prong in one continuous motion, and this is the way it looks like. And as you can see, I made the twist and it took me about a second only to do. So it is made by doing 3 different bends, but when you do them in a one continuous motion, it will take you only 1 second to do so. Now I'm going to show you how to do a full twist in the tine of the fork. If you do the twist as I've taught you, like this. Now if you look at the twist right there, you can see that the twist is actually a half a twist and it looks really great. But if you want to do a full twist into the fork, what you do is do the same exact moves. But what you want to do, you want to make sure that you bend a little bit more than 90 degrees. And then when you do the counterclockwise move of the fork, instead of going just halfway, you would actually do a full counterclockwise twist with the fork. So you do the first bend, then you do this, and instead of stopping right there, you would continue all the way. So now if you look at the fork right here, you can see that the tine is now twisted all the way to the back now. Now, if you want, you can actually stop right there and actually present the bending of the twist into the fork like this, which also looks like a weird, impossible twist into the fork. And this is something that you can actually use. But if you decide to do a straight twist like this one, you will then continue just like you have done before. You will simply straighten the prong right there. And now, as you can see, the
twist right there is actually a full round twist. So this is a full twist and this one right here is half a twist. Now if you do this during a performance, it doesn't really matter if you did a full twist or half a twist. They both look the same, but I just wanted to share it with you so you can do a full twist if you want to.
Now, a great idea is to bend one of the prongs like this, as I've shown you before, and only at the second phase of a routine that you will perform, and only then you will do the twist into the prong. And the reason I like to do that this way, because now you can hold the fork at the tip of your fingers like this, at the prong, and then do some kind of animation to the fork like this, and then expose the twist into the prong right there. So when the prong is first bent downwards and only then you would do the twist, it allows you to do the animation. If you have the twist in an unbent prong, it's harder to do the animation. You cannot do any animation. So it's a good idea to do this with the prong already bent first.
What's great about the deformer gimmick is that you can actually use only the cap to bend forks. You don't need the entire Sharpie. So you can just take the Sharpie out and use just the cap to bend the metals, the tines of a fork. So you can use it with both hands. You can do the entire twist as well with just the cap. So you don't really need the entire Sharpie. It is easier with the Sharpie because it is larger. When you hold it, you have a better grip and you have a better leverage when you actually use the entire Sharpie. But you can also use the cap itself when you want to bend some metals. And this is great because let's say if you are doing a routine where you bend a spoon and then later a fork, you can give the fork out for examination. They can sign the fork. You take the fork back and then let them examine and sign the spoon. And while the spectator is actually busy checking and signing that spoon, this is when you have enough time and misdirection to actually bend the fork while he's busy with the spoon. Because for the spectators, the routine didn't start yet, and you have this fork in your hand and the cap in the other hand, and all you really need to do is, while he's busy, you can just simply create some kind of bend into the tine, and it is very easy to do this. You can also use the inner side of the cap right there, the large hole right there, to bend the tines of a fork. And all you have to do is simply enter the fork like this into the cap. And then whenever you want to bend it, but you can do a large 90-degree bend into the tine of the fork. So unlike the top part with the small hole right there where you do a very small bend like this, here you will do a much larger 90-degree bend into the fork. So this is a great way to bend the tines of forks if you want to do a large bend into the fork by using the inner side of the cap right there. You can also bend two tines at the same time using the large hole. All you have to do is simply enter two tines into the large hole like this instead of just one. So you will have two tines in there, and now you can do a double bend. So as you can see right there, I actually bent two tines at the same time with the cap. So if you place only one tine in there, you can see that you are bending only one tine, or if you place both tines into the cap, you will be able to bend two tines at the same time.
Okay, we have to hear two forks.
Yeah.
You can hear it's a real metal fork. And you can actually examine the forks. I want you to sign your name across the handle of the fork.
All right.
Just so we know it's your fork.
All right.
Perfect. This is another fork, and I want you to sign this fork as well. You can even show it to the camera right there. I want you to hold the fork right there.
All right.
Okay? take the other hand and hold it right here.
All
Perfect.
right.
Now look, I'm going to try to soften that metal. Check this out. Just go like this.
Wow. Awesome.
Show it to the camera.
Look at it.
Let's try something with the second fork, okay? Watch
Yes.
this. It's your signature right there. Prongs of the fork is bending and melting in my
Oh,
fingers.
yeah, I can see it.
Look.
Wow.
Check this.
Wow. Wow.
Like it.
Wow.
Here. Present for you.
Wow. I don't know how you did it. It's crazy.
Now I'm going to explain how to perform the routine where I bend two forks in the spectator's hands. The way I'm doing this is as follows. I have two forks and I have the deformer gimmick in my back pocket right here. Okay? And I like to show them that both forks are made of metal by clinging them together so that they can hear the sound of the metal as they cling. So I give them out to the spectator. I tell the spectator, I want you to examine that this fork is firm, it's straight, and you can examine everything. And then what I do, I take out my gimmick and I put the gimmick inside my left hand right there. So I'm putting it in this way so that the cap is now facing downwards and the Sharpie is outwards. So I'm taking the Sharpie out this way. And I give them the Sharpie and I tell the spectator that I want him to sign the handle right there. Okay? And I have the gimmick right here with the big opening facing upwards this way. So what I do, I let the spectators sign the fork, and I then take the fork from them and I give them the other fork. And I tell them I want you to take the other fork and also make sure that the fork is real. And what I do at this point, I'm actually coming in with my fork into the gimmick like this. So now I have two tines inside the gimmick right there, because in a moment I'm going to do a double tine bend into the fork. All right, so, and then I tell the spectator, I want you to examine this fork and I want you to sign the handle just the same way. And what I did, I now bent the fork a little bit, simply by doing this move as I say, I want you to examine the fork. And then what I do, I change the position of my hand so that I come this way. So now I can use only one hand to actually bend the fork, the tines even further down. So I'm holding it like this and I do the bend this way. So while I'm holding it, I'm simply squeezing down this way. So now that I have the tines bent all the way down. But I do this as I speak and I say I'm going to bend the fork with my mind and I speak to the spectators while he's busy signing that fork. And then once he's done signing the fork, I tell him I want you to show the fork to everybody, and I take out the fork from the cap right there and I'm holding it this way. So now the tines are underneath this finger right there. Okay, the index finger, but it's covered with the thumb on top right there. I take the marker from them, I close, and I'm putting this other fork in my pocket, and I'm going to use that other fork in a moment, right? And then I take that fork, and what I do, I tell the spectator, okay, so you have signed your name right there. And what I did, I actually placed that tine into the tip of the gimmick right there, while I'm holding it this way. So I tell the spectator here, you sign your name right there, and you have examined that this fork is really strong. And what I did, I actually bent down and upwards with the gimmick, as I said, and you have examined that this fork is strong, and nobody can actually see this move. It's a very small move. And then what I do, I will now change my position of the body this way as I'm moving the fork down this way while it's still in there. So I'm going to go this way and I'll tell the spectator, I want you to hold this end right there. And what I did now is actually bend this to the side right there. So what I did, while I moved my body this way, I actually came from this position and I moved down to this position. So it's this way at the beginning. I tell the spectator, here, I want you to hold this end right there. if the spectator is in this side and the audience is right there, I can do the same thing. So I tell the spectator, you examine this right here. Here, what I want you to do is grab this side of the fork right there. And what I did at this point, I actually bent this fork 90 degrees to the right, but I also prepare this for a break. So in a moment, I can bend this and also break this. All right, so I would then come down to this way. So I'm switching the hands while I'm still covering the fork with my thumb right there. Then I would take this and put it in my back pocket, and I just get rid of the gimmick. And then I will tell the spectator, look, I'm going to rub this right there. Okay, and then slowly stop, and then show them that it is now bent, and the spectator is left with a fork in his hands with the prong bent to the side right there. And then what I do, I tell the spectator, I want you to hold this again. And then watch this. I continue rubbing my fingers, and as I do this, I'm actually breaking this little piece, and I like to place this little piece at the middle on top of the fork right there. So this way, he's now left with both pieces. And as I look, you can actually examine these pieces, and you can examine that it's broken now. So now you can see this is now broken right there. All right, so this is the first fork. Now he's left with that fork, and I say, let's do a little more bending. And then is when I come out with the other fork. But what I do, I hold it the same way I've explained before, where the thumb covers on top and the bent part is down here, and my other finger is covering that part. So I tell the spectator, here, let's do a little more bending, and this time I'm actually going to do a visual bend. So I come like this, and what I do, I simply let the fork fall down as I move my fingers to do this move this way, all right? So now I do this, and I slowly cause that fork to go down. And one other thing that I like to do sometimes, you have this little piece right there protruding from the first finger, and I can use the other finger to actually manipulate that fork if I need to. Usually you won't need to do this because the fork is heavy enough, so gravity actually takes this fork down. So you just do this, and you just let gravity move that fork down, and then slowly show that this fork is now bent right here, and you continue the move, and it's now completely bent. And then usually when I'm done, I like to open my fingers this way. So now I present the fork with the fork hanging on my fingers, and which is a great display of the fork. Everybody can see that that fork is bent, and I let the spectator hold this fork, examine this fork, and the routine is done. So as you can see, I have used very simple misdirection to actually bend this fork. So I have to bend this fork while I was moving, while I was talking, and it's very simple and it's very easy to do this. So this is the routine where I bend the fork.
Now I'm going to show you how to create a full twist into the tine of the fork, but also prepare that fork for a break at the same time. And what you want to do is like this. You want to come in with the gimmick into one of the side tines. You always want to go into the tine which is closest to you. So if you would decide to do the other tine right there, you want to hold that fork upside down like this, and you will go into that tine right here. So now what you want to do, you want to bend the fork like this, but you want to create a large bend. So it's this way. So you are going to go with the gimmick as far as possible. So what you will do, you'll bend this into a large angle bend like this. And the best way to do this is with the cap of the gimmick facing upwards. So this way the clip is not in the way when you are trying to make a large bend like this. And then you want to immediately move the fork counterclockwise all the way around this way. So now if you look at the tine right there, you can see that the tine actually goes all the way around and up this way. And then the last move that you want to do, you want to straighten that tine, just like you have done when you created that twist before. But instead of going this way, you want to go from this position down. So you are straightening it by going from up and down instead of to the side. So you basically could go this way to straighten that tine, but instead you will do this like this. So it's like
a round move this way. And the reason I'm doing this is because now that tine is not only twisted, but it is also prepared for a break. So if you look right here, you can see that the tine is fully twisted, but it is also prepared for a break. And as you can see, you can easily break this tine this way. So what's great about this is that you created a full twist into that tine, and you also prepare that tine for a break. And this way you can do a two-phase routine where you first twist that tine and then later break that tine. But you prepare this in one continuous motion with the gimmick. And this is a great thing because now you have two types of bends, a bend and a break, that you do with the gimmick. Before you start bending, twisting, and breaking forks, what you want to do, you want to make sure that you get the right fork for it, because it's not going to work with any fork. So the forks that I like to use are these type of forks. These are cheap forks. It is a thick fork. It's not too thin. This fork is quite a hard fork. So if you give this out for examination, the spectator, once they touch that fork, they will see it is a firm, strong fork. And this is a great thing to use. This fork, for example, right here is a very thin fork. It is almost half of this one right here. And once you give it out, you can see it's super easy to bend. It just feels too cheap. And that's why I don't like to use those type of forks, because you can basically bend this so easy with your fingers, which is a great thing if you don't give them out for examination. But if you do, when the spectator can just bend it back, it just doesn't look good and it doesn't work the way I want it to work. So I would avoid those type of forks. So the best thing is to go out and try different types of forks and see which one is best for you. Right, so let's try out some of those forks that we have here, and let's see which one is the best to use. So if I'm going to take this one, for example, this is a nice fork that looks good. It doesn't look cheap. And what's also good about this fork that it has quite a bit space between each tine. And that's a great thing because you can easily fit the gimmick into the middle tines the way you want it. So let's try out and see how it works. So you would bend this way, and then this way, and then straighten this up. So as you can see, I can actually create this beautiful bend and twist into a very thick and nice, expensive fork. The only thing is that this piece right here is not prepared for a break. So it is prepared with an arc bend and a twist, but not for a break. All right, so we have this fork right here. This fork right here is a cheaper fork, but it is a little different than the one that I actually use. And if you look right here, it's very hard to go into the tines with the gimmick because the space between the tines is very narrow. So this is something that you have to like really push in to actually get in there. So let me try this one right here. And as you can see, this one is a great fork for bending, twisting, and breaking this right here. You can see that this piece is now broken off that tine right there. And the one that I normally use is this type of forks. This is a nice cheap fork, but it is also very strong. And the great thing about this is that you can actually bend this very easy with the gimmick, as you can see right here. And this one also is prepared for a break. As you can see, it is now broken. This one right here is a more expensive fork. It has very large tines. And let's see if I can actually bend this as well. But as you can see, it is a little hard because the tine tends to jump out of the gimmick after you make that side bend right there. And that is because the tines of this fork are very narrow, and that's why it falls out of the gimmick. You could use it to make a bend like this, but it doesn't work like with those other forks. So this is a nice fork, but I would probably avoid this type of fork simply because the tine tends to jump out of the gimmick. So this is a fork that I would not use. So again, what you want to do, you want to experiment with different types of forks. And if you decide that you don't need that break at the end, at the last phase, I would go for this fork right here. It is a nice, beautiful, and expensive fork. And this is something that I would probably use. And if you decide that you actually want to create the bends and breaks at the end, you could use one of these two forks right here. After you use the gimmick for a while, you will notice that the gimmick might get scratched, especially when you use the gimmick for the bend, twist, and break move. And this is because the metal of the cutlery is touching the outer side of the gimmick when you do that twisting and breaking move. So if you look at this fork right here, this fork has a very narrow space between each tine. So you have to really push the gimmick in. And what happens is that these two tines at the side are scratching the gimmick from these two sides. So to minimize the scratches on the cap, what you want to do is use a fork with a wide space between the tines so that the gimmick can freely get in and out without having to push hard. Now I'm going to show you how to do a next level bend into the tine of the fork. And what you want to do, you want to create a full twist bend, like I taught you just a moment ago, into one of the middle tines of the fork. So instead of doing this onto the tines on both edges, you are actually going to do this on the middle. This is very important that you do this on the middle. So what you want to do, you want to come in with the Sharpie into the tine of the fork. You want to hold the fork with the natural curve facing upwards, and you want to make sure that you go into the tine like this. All right. So now you have the tine into the gimmick right there, and you are going to create a regular full twist into the tine. So first you are going to bend down a little more than 90 degrees, then move counterclockwise this way with the fork. Now, as you can see, the tines right there is actually touching the cap of the gimmick right there. And this is going to prevent you from basically moving the fork counterclockwise more than this right here. But you are going to do this anyway. So once you do the half twist counterclockwise, you're going to go a little more than you can actually do. So now you are going to put some force into it. It's not hard to do, but you just need to put a little more force. Now you can see that I actually bent the tine of the fork, a sharp bend to the side, and also a large arc bend at the same time. So with one move, I actually created two bends. And this is something great that you can do with just one move. But after you have done this, after you have created this bend until this point right here, you are going to now do this. So you're basically creating a full twist into the tine right there. And as you can see now, I have a full arc bend and a twist into the fork. But here's another great thing. Once you do this with the inner tines of the fork, and it really depends on the type of the fork that you use, sometimes when you actually create that twist right there, the piece right there is actually going to break a little bit. And this is great because now you have an arc bend, a twist, and a preparation for a break into the same time. And the great part about this is that you actually created all this with just one simple move that you did. So you actually have to misdirect the spectator only once. So let's go over this one more time. You have two cutler pieces. You give the fork out to the spectators. They are examining that fork. They are signing that fork, and then you take it back. You will then give them the spoon. They will examine the spoon and sign that spoon. And while the spectator is busy inspecting the spoon and signing the spoon, this is when you have enough misdirection to actually create the bend into the fork. So let me show it to you one more time. You will do this now only with the cap instead of the entire Sharpie. You will hold the fork in your left hand with the natural curve facing upwards, and you will come into the middle tine with the gimmick like this. All right. And then you will bend downwards more than 90 degrees, like so. And you will move counterclockwise, half a twist this way, counterclockwise, and then continue. So you're basically putting some force into it, and then you will just straighten that twist. And as soon as you feel that twisted part breaking, you will remove the gimmick and immediately cover with those two fingers.
So as you can see, I have an arc bend, a twist, and a piece that is ready for a break. As you can see, it is very easy to break at this point. This time I'm going to bend the fork in one continuous motion so you can see how it looks like. So as you can see, I have an arc bend, a twist, and a piece that is ready for a break. And this is something that it happens very quickly. So while the spectator is busy examining and signing the spoon, you have enough time to prepare the bend, twist, and break into the fork. And immediately you want to cover the bend with the fingers just to make sure that the spectators around you don't see the bend in the fork right there. And you can now put it either in your pocket or put it in between other cutlery that you have on the table. It really depends on what kind of show you do. If you do a close-up show where you only use 2 cutlery pieces, a spoon and a fork, you will want to put the fork in your pocket. But if you have more cutlery on the table, you can place this fork in between some other cutlery and just make sure it's hidden in between the other cutlery so that nobody can actually see the bent fork. So the spectator is going to give you the marker back. You will cap the marker. Right, so you can now take the spoon back from the spectator, and if you want to create a spiral into the spoon, you will do this just the way I've explained to you earlier under the spoon section. But if you want, you can also do a regular bend into the spoon, and there you don't need the deformer gimmick, so you can put it away. So this way you don't need to misdirect the spectator again by doing this. So you will do some kind of a regular bend into the spoon, the way you are used to do this. And now after this first phase of the routine, now you will take the fork from the pile and you want to make sure that you hide the bent part right here, and you will go into the routine where you first bend it, then twist it, and then break it. You want to hold it, the fork, like this, and you're going to grab the other side of the fork with the other fingers of the left hand, and you're going to hold the fork this way so that the back side of the fork is facing the audience. So you're at this position and you cover the tine right there with the thumb from top and with the other fingers from the back. So you're going to start rubbing the tine like this and then slowly expose that you have bent the fork or the tine like so. But you want to hold the tine at the twist right there because you don't want to expose the twist just yet. So you're going to hold it like this. You're going to display the fork and you're going to show to the spectators that the fork is now bent at the tine. And now when you go to the second phase of the routine, you will hold the fork like this, like I've explained to you before, and you are going to start moving your other hand underneath the fork as if you are channeling energy into that fork, and then slowly animate the fork by twisting it this way. So what you are doing, you're actually moving the thumb and forefinger like this. So you are going to hold the fork like this, and you are going to start twisting the fork by moving the thumb and forefinger. So you have the other hand underneath. You are going to pretend like you are channeling energy into the fork and slowly cause the fork to twist around like this. And then you grab the fork and show that the fork is not only bent now, but it also has a twist at the time right there. All right. So then you can give this to the spectators. They can actually examine that fork. And when you take the fork back from the spectator, you are going to go into the third phase of the routine. You are going to ask the spectator to hold the other end of the fork right there at the end of the handle. And you are going to come with these 2 fingers. You're going to touch the twisted part of the prong right there. And you're going to start rubbing the fingers like this and then slowly cause that part to break. And then the routine is over. Now I'm going to show you another performance idea. You will do the phase 1 as I've explained, where you cause that tine to bend into an arc shape. You will then continue into phase 2. You will cause the entire fork to animate. Then you will show that twist in the tine right there. And then you will grab that part with the right fingers and you will simply break this piece off. And you will do this secretly so that the spectator doesn't know yet that you have actually broken this piece. And what you want to do is hold that tine right there. So this piece is broken, but you hold the tine with the fingers. And then what you will do, you will twist that fork like you have done in phase 2, simply by moving the fingers and causing that fork to twist. And then all of a sudden, you let it fall into the spectator's hand or into your own hand, and then you will show that it is now a broken. So what you have done, you have twisted the fork until the point where that tine actually broke in half. And what's great about this is that you have used the deformer gimmick to bend an arc bend into the tine, twist the tine, and also break the tine. And you did all this preparation with just one quick move with the deformer gimmick. When you try to bend, twist, and break a tine of a fork with the gimmick, you want to make sure that you don't rush it, because you are doing 3 moves in one continuous motion. And if you do rush it, sometimes the tine might jump out of the gimmick before you end all the 3 moves, because then you have to go with the tine into the gimmick again and then continue the move. And this might take actually longer than if you wouldn't rush it. So when you do this, make it work. Don't rush it too much. Just make sure that it does work, because the spectator is now busy signing and examining the spoon. So you have enough misdirection to actually create this. And as you can see, that it doesn't take long to actually create the bend, twist, and break. It's just something that you should do and practice it so you can do it flawlessly, but don't try to rush it. To get best results of preparing the tine to a bend, twist, and break, what you want to do, you want to make sure that when you go in with the tine into the gimmick, that it goes all the way in. And the second important part is that when you do the bends, don't just bend 90 degrees. You want to make sure that you actually bend over 90 degrees as much as possible with the gimmick, like this. Now, another great tip is to have the cap with the clip facing upwards. This way, the clip won't disturb you while you do the move. So you want to have the clip facing upwards. The same goes when you only use the cap itself. You want to always have the clip facing upwards with the thumb resting on top. This way, it's going to be easier for you and you have a better grip, and the clip will not disturb the bend. And then when you do the bend and twist, it's going to be easier. And as you can see now, you have this bend that looks like this. All right, so let's do this from the beginning. You will have the gimmick in that tine right there, and one of those inner tines with the clip facing upwards. You are going to bend that tine, a large bend like this, followed by moving the fork counterclockwise and then all the way around like so, so that you create that arc bend and that half a twist right there. You want to now straighten that tine by coming from above and down and not from the side. So you want to go this way and then straighten that this way. And again, when you want to straighten that tine, you want to move with your right hand up and then down instead of just to the side like this. And the reason I'm doing this is because this way you have a better chance to actually create that break into the twist right there. As you can see, you can easily break this tine as well. So let me do this one more time with this other tine, and this time I'm going to do this in one continuous motion. So you go in, bend down, counterclockwise move with the fork, straighten it this way and then this way. So now I have that twist and bend into that tine right there. And as you can see that this tine is also prepared for a break. When you create the bend and twist with the gimmick into one of the tines of the fork, and you did not hear or feel that the tine at the twist has broken a little bit or cracked, don't worry about it. Don't try to fix it. In this case, you will just do the routine with the 2 first phases where the tine first bends into an arc shape and then you cause it to twist, and you will just not do the last part where it breaks. For the audience, this is a strong routine. It doesn't have to break. The break just gives you another added value for the routine if you want to, and it takes a little more time to do the routine. But if you did not feel the break, don't try to fix it. You just want to go along and just do the routine the way it is. You can also use the inner side of the cap right there, where the large hole is, to bend different kinds of metal. And one of the things you can do with that is bend the end of the handle of a cutlery piece. You can do this with a teaspoon, a regular spoon, or a fork, as long as you can fit it inside the hole right there. As long as it fits inside, you can use this to bend the end of the handle. Now, if you look at this fork right here, you can see that it doesn't fit in there. So you cannot do this with a fork that doesn't fit in. But if you have a fork or a spoon that does fit into the large hole right there, you can actually use it for bending the end of the handle. And you would do this like this. You will hold the cap inside your palm like this. And once you take the fork back, you will place the handle inside that hole right there. And all you need to do now is bend the end of the handle like this. As you can see, I made a 90-degree bend at the end of the handle right there. Now, this is an impossible bend that you cannot achieve by hand, and this is an amazing bend. Now, you can easily hide it with the fingers like this, where you have the bend going under the thumb right there. And this way, when you display the fork, they will see that the handle is completely straight because this part is now covered with the thumb like this. And when you want to bend this part, you can let somebody hold the other side of the fork and then do this by rubbing the fingers and show that this part is now bent. Or you can do something even better where you do this move with the fingers. You just slide the thumb down a little bit like this, and this will cause the entire fork to bend down. You will hold it like this, and you will move the other hand underneath as if you are channeling energy into that fork, and at the same time you will slide the thumb down to cause the fork to bend down, and then you can show that this part is now bent. And this is an amazing bend that is very unusual, and this is something that you can do with the inner side of the cap. After you use the deformer gimmick for a while, you will notice that some of the color might scratch off, and this is happening because the metal of the cutlery might touch the gimmick itself and scratch off the color. So if this is something that bothers you, you can do one of two things. You can either take the Sharpie itself and simply color with the Sharpie some of those scratches, just so it looks a little better. And if you want, you can also spray paint them if you want to.
Before you go out and break a leg in front of a live audience, it's important that you practice, practice, and practice. Practice in front of a mirror so you can see the audience's point of view, so you can see the flaws and things that needs to be improved. And after you have mastered the techniques and feel comfortable using the deformer gimmick, go out and amaze your audience. I am Manny Lindenfeld. Thank you for watching.